Alright everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. It is Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. So, you guys know the Super XLs are getting harder to find certain parts for. Most of them aren't hard. There's a couple that are really difficult. And one of them is related to ignition. And we all know, at least those of us that have been working around these things for a little bit, know about the Super XLs and their famous blue Prestolite coil that just was a raging pile of crap. I mean, some of them last to this day. Others didn't last 10 minutes out of the box. Why? I don't know. Again, I know some guys have torn them apart, and wow, I've really got that camera off level still. They've torn them apart and found what various things that they speculate are the problem. I repair saws. I'm not an electrical, expert, so I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. Long and the short of it, we all have read about, and some of us have done, myself included, the baking technique, toaster oven. You can bring them back. Now, some guys have had bad experiences with that to where it doesn't last very long. I personally don't have that issue, or I haven't. The ones I've baked have come back to life and stayed there. So, let's say, right there's our little offender. You unscrew your spark plug wire. You try and set it in the toaster oven or whatever you're heating so that it's on the lamination. 200 degrees isn't going to melt this, but why, you're going to dry out like the spark plug wire, the rubber, and there's no point in putting that kind of stress on the plastic. Again, my personal theory is there's moisture of some sort. If that's not the case, I've had other guys say, nah, it's more likely that the insulating oil around this or that is not, I don't know. I don't know. And I'll be honest, I don't care. I just want them to work. So I'm looking at David's Super XL here, and this is a case where I'm fearful that the aftermarket is doing us no favors, because the Chinese-made knockoffs are so prevalent now that it's hard to tell what kind of quality control is going into it. So there are several sellers that are well known out there on the eBay circuit. God, it sounds like a crime mob. I guess that's sort of accurate. Anyway, they're selling a reproduction coil. That guy right there. Now this has an initial on it, HB. I don't know what the hell that is. But this is clearly a brand new coil, and it doesn't make spark. Now, I get so bloody many emails anymore. I can't remember the exact details on this. If I'm remembering right, the saw ran for about 20 minutes and then just poof, gone. So that's not really a ringing endorsement for the quality behind this. Now, I did my thorough testing on it. There's only two things in an ignition system, an electronic ignition system like this. You got your coil and you got your flywheel. Well, guess what? That magnet's holding a screwdriver. It's fine. The coil is no good. Why? Beats the hell out of me. I have no idea, again, what kind of quality control the Chinese factories are putting on the various parts that go into this. Don't know. But I know that that's a, what the hell is it, a $40 coil? They might have come down a little bit, but it doesn't matter what the price is if it doesn't last. So, what the hell's a guy to do? Well, we talked about it. I said, hey, send me the saw. I'll work with it. If I can put a points setup on there, that's an option. But you can see there is no cam lobe for points on here. It's been machined away. Or I should say not machined. This is a D, so what the hell is that, an 82 model? Now I know the new part numbers came out. basically when these electronic ignitions were introduced, so it doesn't look like any of the, or very few saws had a carryover points crankshaft put into them. I mean, you think about it, this is less machining, so they're going to obviously do they did what was cheapest. And since the electronic coil was their standard. So, in a case like this, you know, your options are really three things that I can think of. You can go to the trouble of tearing this entire engine down and putting a points crankshaft in there. I don't recommend it. The point systems are reliable, but you lose condensers. That just happens. And the Weco Prestolite condensers are getting harder to find, and when you do, they're starting to creep up there in price. I mean, it's not uncommon at all to see a condenser selling for 20 bucks these days. So, I mean, there's that. That's a problem. Points are pretty reliable. You keep them cleaned and all that. I mean, they're going to last a long time. There's a lot of 50-year-old point sets that are still running on saws just fine. But again, you got to tear this whole thing down, literally to nothing, and bring it back up with a points crankshaft. So that's not my vote. The aftermarket coil, at this point, is also not my vote. Now, if you can find an old stock aftermarket from Sten's that is blue, yeah, go for it. That I would feel okay with, no question. For all I know, Sten's bought these damn things from Prestolite and then slapped their name on them. That would not surprise me either. Or you stick with an original. Now, there's original A and original B. Original A is you find one of these blue bastards, cook it, and run it, with the understanding that, hey, I might have to pull this off and cook it again. In a case like that, I think I would be keeping an eye on eBay for a used one you can throw on the shelf as a spare. That's kind of where we're at. The only other option, Homelite did start using in 87, 88, somewhere in there. They had a complete kit from Phelon that was also a electronic coil. It was black, but not like this. I don't think I have, looking through my junk up here, do I have one? I keep a few shop supplies around. This is not one, but it was a larger coil, had the same shape. The epoxy filling back here was kind of a maroonish brown. That was a Phelon module. Has its own rotor, flywheel, and you got to match those up. Weco Prestolite flywheel will not trigger that properly, and vice versa. They had that kit out there. What was that? An A00118, if I'm remembering right. Flywheel and coil. You do see those pop up on eBay. The dealers were stocking them because that was what was billed as the best fix at that time. Now, I personally think the later Prestolite coils that were sold are better. I think they are. I think they fixed whatever the problem was. But there's probably millions of those things that were out there. So that's part A, is just replace your flywheel, replace your, your coil, and get the Phelon setup, and you'll probably never look back. Part B, just keep running these. And that's what I'm going to recommend for David here. I know this has been a bunch of long-winded crap, but I think that little 5 minutes or whatever it was will probably save a lot of time of digging through old forum discussions, and I'm sure it's made it to Facebook by now too, but House of Homelite, Arborist Site, OPE, a lot of those forums, they've been covering this crap for 15, 20 years. I mean, ever since Deere sold Homelite to Tektronic Industries way back in the day, and parts started becoming unavailable, as dealers said, nope, we're done. This has been an issue. So that's what I'm going to do with this saw. I'm going to go ahead and bolt this coil. I've already baked it, I'm certain of that, and see what it does. This one David had asked me, he's like, hey, you know, the spark plug wire was a little bit too long, which again, wonderful quality control. He said it melted to the muffler a little bit, and it did. You can see that little indentation right there, but there's no wire showing through. And when I did my tests, I had the tester up on the muffler, and that would have been nice if that had been the issue. That would have been really cool. But at this point, I'm just going to say it's an aftermarket module that is a piece of junk. The final piece I'll leave you guys with before I get to work on this saw, and I'm not going to, I haven't done this. I'll try to find the link to the House of Homelite post. There's a gentleman who has taken the lamination, the pickup lamination here, out of these coils, which is super simple. You just pop that tab up and you start pressing this plastic off, the coil off. It's easy. Super easy. No pun intended. And he's been using a aftermarket, again, Chinese-made coil, but he has had good luck with it. He's done this on several saws. And I believe it's the coil for a Husqvarna 345, 350. Again, it's an aftermarket. I mean, you find those all day long for 15 bucks on Amazon and probably eBay as well. He's had good luck installing this lamination into that coil, and I think it was just very minor modifications that had to be made. I think he ended up having to drill a little bit out of the epoxy in the back to clear this screw hole. He, like I say, his saws are running fine with it. Certainly last a hell of a lot longer than what this one apparently did. So I'm going to throw that out there. Like I say, I'll find the post if I can. Put a link to it in the description of this video, and you guys can decide. But those are the options that I'm aware of, and I'll be honest, I'm still happiest using OEM equipment. If that wasn't available, just wasn't an option, I would probably try that Chinese coil from the Husky 345 and retrofit this lamination in it. But no matter what, if you've got one of these bad coils, don't throw it away. Even if you've baked it and it doesn't work, don't throw it away. Save it for that lamination, because that's what fits your saw. As long as you can find a coil that triggers in the same sequence that this one does, that'll fit that lamination, you stand a snowball's chance. But without the lamination, yeah, you're pretty much done. So I'm going to get to work on this. I know that was quite long-winded, but hopefully that clears up some of the confusion and makes clear some of the, or what the options are at this point for these old Prestolite coils. One more thing. I just got this coil off, and on the back it's a Raisman brand. I may not be pronouncing that right, but R-A-I-S-M-A-N, and the part number on the back here is 170524322. I hope that's focusing in on that to where you guys can actually see it. I say, looks good, but it isn't working good. Alright, much better. Nice consistent spark. So let's put the spark plug back in and see if we can make this thing bark. Okay, David. So, like I say, that was the best option. This is a baked blue coil. Should last indefinitely. Uh, yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot else to say. Running good. Got that stumble out of it. Opened up the low speed just a little bit. You'll have to tune it to your mix. But yeah, I think we're good to go.